Praise God, folks. This is Old Truth Speaker again, coming to you. This is part one. And the name of this is Democratic Debate. Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton. Knockdown, drag out fight. I would like to say this is it was a wonderful debate, a very exciting debate where a lot of truth was spoken. And coming from me, see, I'm not a Democrat or Republican. I'm independent. But the things, I have to admit, the things that were said by Governor O'Malley were very good. I'm not knocking it. And you know, quite naturally, Hillary Clinton, one of the main things we knew was going to come up was her email, Benghazi, you know, the same thing all over. You know what that is, I mean. But I like the way Bernie Sanders said it. Bernie Sanders said, we have 27 million people that are living in poverty. We have the highest uninsured and unemployed, we have the highest uninsured of any of the top nations on earth. We don't have time, and we are tired of listening to her about her email. That drew a standing ovation. And one of the main topics was discussed was Black Lives Matter. And I'm surprised that, you know, and each candidate set out their specific agenda for, let's face it, jobs and justice for African Americans. And that we've been totally ignored, which everybody knows this, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm not harping on it, but it's a fact. Let's face the fact. I had an uncle, several relatives, who fought in every war there has been, and they did come home and got spit on, and nobody was any gang banging or dope slinging in there. Not in any part of my family. On both sides, they were all hard workers. So this is, you might well leave Fox and that crap, and you can wipe your behind with it. The devil is a liar. But I like to tell you, we're going to go over quickly. This is part one. For blacks only, O'Malley said that Baltimore, he was the mayor of Baltimore, now he's the governor of Maryland. He said he had fought and saved the lives of countless African Americans. And they said that, the commentator said, well, you were sued by I think it was the Justice Department. I couldn't get everything. So many topics were being discussed. And he went to expound on the message of why he should be President of the United States. But this is what Bernie Sanders said. That the big business and special interest groups that own, well, we know that America's turned into an oligarchy. We know that. That blacks have been their lives have been undermined. They've been locked up with mass incarceration. And let's face it, I'm going to expound on that. I know it's going to be an oversimplification. Then a lot, just because your name sound black, 9 times out of 10, they will not hire you. And Bernie Sanders seized upon that. See, he has a passion for justice. He's been fighting in the civil rights movement, and he marched along with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He was fought for jobs and justice. So I give him credit for that. Am I telling people who to vote for? No, I'm not. He said that we have, like I said, 27% of America's population lives in poverty. And the middle class is collapsing on itself. We don't have time for a lot of, I'm just going to oversimplify it, for a lot of razzle-dazzle in line, because he said Hillary Clinton, her plan for the economy, you work harder, your economy goes up, the economy goes down, that's baloney, which it is. That is not going to do, and it hasn't yet. But our economy has gotten worse, and the people who perpetrated this fraud, I'll put it this way. Bernie Sanders spoke and he said there was a meeting with President Obama. Benjamin Bernanke, you know, and what is his name, Williams, said, well, the Wall Street is going to collapse and they're going to take the economy with it. Bernie Sanders told him at that moment that your billionaire and millionaire friends caused this problem, this collapse. And now you're leaving it up to the American middle class to bail out the banks. Now how about the banks? These billionaires and millionaires fund our children to go to college, schools and colleges. I think that's phenomenal. I like that plan. And I'm not a socialist. But let's face it, what we have here now is crony capitalism. I've told you time and time again that both Democrats and Republicans, most of them, are working for the same people. Now he outright, all of the candidates, even Governor O'Malley, even Jim Webb, Senator Jim Webb, said that Hillary Clinton is backing the billionaire and Wall Street. And not one of them has done a day in jail. And like Bernie Sanders said, he said you have people going to the prison for Hillary Clinton did seize up on the moment and expound on her statement about her views on a large amount of people have gone to prison for minor charges of marijuana, not violence or dangerous addictive drugs. I mean, it's something to think about. I just have a few things jotted down. In the debate, it was Senator Jim Webb was attacked. Well, I'll put it this way: it was asked the question, said that he didn't support affirmative actions for African Americans. But he expounded on it. He said, let me explain. He said, I do not support affirmative action for everybody, people of color and everybody. Blacks, African Americans were brought here as slaves. They have a unique history in this country. I'm not a person of color. I'm a black man. He said, I support affirmative action for African Americans only. See Daniel Patrick Moynihan, famous benign neglect, I think it was in 1969 and 1970, after the death of civil rights icon and leader Martin Luther King Jr., he put a policy and brought it to President Nixon to enforce this. That diffused or took some of the steam out of the civil rights movement. That's when they included everybody, everything under the sun. Now, I'm not against homosexuals or illegal immigrants, but black people were brought here as slaves. You're not a person of color, you're black. And so this is what Senator Webb expounded on. He said, that's what I said I disagree with, but I want affirmative action for blacks only, not people of color and everybody else, which is 100% why affirmative action were made. But you have a lot of these hypocritical, phony, no good, crooked, processed hair wearing civil rights leaders. And he also expounded on, well, like Bernie Sanders said, he wants to reform the criminal justice system because, any African American can wind up being arrested for the smallest offense and wind up just like Sandra Bland a few days later, leaving the police call a few days later, wind up dead, which cops are murdering black people, men and women. And not all of them are drug. Now, I'm not saying all of them I'm not going into every case, not right now. This is part one. But the point is, Sandra Bland was innocent. She didn't do anything. All they wanted to do was be treated like men and women. Folks, America is an oligarchy. The Republicans are bought and paid for. A lot of your Democrats are bought and paid for. Bernie Sanders stood there and said, I do not have a super PAC. Even Donald Trump tell you those people are bought and paid for. They are not lying. This is what a few of us have been saying all along. The America has turned into an oligarchy. He even said he refused. He voted against Vietnam. Why? Go and do research, and then you'll see why America was over there supposedly helping the French anyway. Hello? Does it ring a bell? Did you remember what Muhammad Ali said? I'm not going over there to take somebody's freedom. They didn't go over there to fight for somebody's life. They were going over there to help the French that was trying to take over Vietnam. That's exactly why the hell they went over there. We need God in this country because this country is disappearing. And just like it was said, the same reason why there is in America that people came to America from Europe, the pilgrims and all these people. You're turning into the same country that they escaped from. Came over here for freedom in the first place. They're turning into the same greedy, immoral, murderous 1% running the country and wiping out the middle class to gain power. It was a phenomenal debate. But folks, we need God like never before. But I give much props to all the candidates. But I like the way Bernie Sanders and a few of them have an agenda to put forth for the middle class. I like the agenda that they put forth for the furthering of the African American and the inclusion of African American in everyday life and their economic welfare. I like that. And I give much props to Bernie Sanders and how he stood up for Hillary Clinton, and that they know the attack upon her has nothing to do with. Oh, never mind. You know, I want to. This is part one, folks. I like to say Hillary Clinton does want to fight mass incarceration, but her views. Well, folks, say your prayers. America needs it. God bless.